Good evening and welcome to another exciting episode of Answers with Dr.Reju, where critical life issues are clarified. My name is Lois, and as usual, I'm in the studio with Joanne and Joseph. And also joining us in the studio today is Dr. Reju, the Chief Resource Person of the Center for Transformational Leadership, CTL JOS. You're welcome, sir.
Good
Welcome,
afternoon,
everybody.
good evening, Joanne, Joseph, and Lois. Good to see you guys.
Same here, sir. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay, today we're going to be talking about a global issue, effect of the pandemic, how effective our efforts are as well as life after the pandemic. And before we came on air, Dr. Reggie was asking what coronavirus, what coronavirus means. We are not, we are all aware of coronavirus. Even a child on the street, will tell you that it's a deadly disease that kills, people. It was gotten. The history of coronavirus is, I think it was gotten from snakes or rats. I'm not really very sure. I really.
That's why I was asking you. I don't know what it is. Just putting you on the spot, don't mind me.
But it's a very very deadly disease that has killed a lot of people around the globe. Yes. So with this, we want to ask some questions that will clarify a lot of things on our minds and the minds of us. A lot of people who are listening on the show today. So, sir, is the lockdown the best way to handle this in our context? Is that the appropriate step to take, considering how we've seen other countries practically provide palliatives for their citizens? Are we really handling this the right way?
Well, I think a lot of things have been said about this because personally, the position I've taken in the midst of all this is to just listen to what every other person is saying and not, and to learn, to just hear what. I've had a lot of, people talk about the corona. Everybody, some people study history, they become experts on corona. Some study geography, some study their own language. Everybody talk about corona. You just mentioned some, that maybe you're even trying to find out the source. Maybe come from snakes. Some said it's 5G. Some said it's from a place called Wuhan, and all those kind of things. And you see, that to me is deadlier than the disease itself.
Really?
Yeah,
How?
it's deadlier than the disease itself. Now, because a lot of people that are talking about this were just speaking from a lot of sources without any form of credibility, right? First of all, from what I know about it, if it's a virus, and if if it has character like flu, one, it's not a deadly disease. Why? It's treatable. And there have been a lot of people that have been infected and they have been treated. So for me, the issue here is how people receive the information glut is deadlier, right, than the corona itself, than the virus itself, the information glut. And if anyone is surprised in Nigeria about our response, we are very unrealistic. Very, very unrealistic. Our expectations lack basis. When you talk about our response and you fault it or whatever, it's as if we have a history of a government or society that's ever handled anything right. So we like to pick, stories from the middle. If the surprise will have been if Nigeria had handled it right. That would have been a surprise. That we don't handle it right, it's life goes on. That's the way we've been. Exactly. That's the way we've been. And because now of globalization, there's information flowing from everywhere and all those kind of things. That to me has killed more people because even as where we sit today in this studio, there's still a lot of people who believe that the COVID-19 is not real. People still live in denial. Why? Information glut. Information glut. Because at every point, at every stage, even those who call themselves experts, they've walked back on what they've said. Let's track it. If I have the time. At the beginning, they said, it doesn't affect black man. They said, it affects old people. People with pre-existing condition. That one is laughable. Every Nigerian has pre-existing condition. Yeah, every Nigerian. If you go to a hospital and you complain of anything, they will have written down malaria and typhoid before they carry on tests. It might be funny, but that's the truth. Now, they said it doesn't affect young people. In fact, at the time, the president of the United States said we should just allow young people to go back to work and quarantine old people. But history, recent experience have shown that there's a 105-year-old woman who was there in the Spanish flu has also recovered from this. So at every point in time we've seen, for me, COVID is not a problem, it's the information virus.
Okay, so talking about information, how reliable are our sources? For instance, the NCDC gives us numbers, and they just tell us that today maybe 18 people recovered or so number. But in other places we see that they back information. Sometimes they show us people in the hospitals that are receiving treatment, but here we've not seen anyone. We've not heard, like in Italy we knew that people died because we saw videos and pictures, but here we just get numbers, green, red.
Again, Joseph, what you're saying, it goes back to my first point. One, because our government officials, they have a reputation of falsehood, of lies. So even if those numbers are credible, you can't believe. And then, but you tend to believe Italy. Because you believe Italy can lie.
Or America.
Or America. It's unfortunate. Do you know it's unethical to show someone that's sick in the hospital? It's unethical. It's very unethical. Because someone's medical condition, is a secret, it's a private issue. Except they have those people sign. So you see, there's a lot of propaganda. This is my own take. Corona might have come as just like any kind of wind that's affecting people. But how people have used it is the major problem. How government, interest groups, how they've used Corona to promote their agenda is the major problem. And unfortunately, especially in Africa, we can't see it. We cannot see it. Right? There is no way. If this corona is the way it is scientifically and all those kind of things, and it has entered Nigeria, it has done all this, do you know how densely populated Genta is? Mm-hmm. Have you been to Aguarugo? Yeah. I grew up in Lagos. If you know what Mushin looks like, if you've been to Makoko, right? If you've been to Ajegunle in Lagos, and there are other places here in the city of Jos, and all those kind of places. It's people have used Corona to promote their own personal agenda. That's not to say that Corona is not real. At the time I saw it, again, because I have my own kind of issue with you know, how when celebrities, so-called celebrities, begin to get interested in something, I'm cautious. At the time, a lot of celebrities came out and said they are positive. They become more popular. Look at the young girl in Lagos, Funke Akindele, who had a party, right? And then Funke Akindele was going to court. She was covering her face with 5 fingers. I'm very sure she will have more hits on social media because of that party. She got more popular. She will get more money. And they said they were accusing her of not observing social distancing. Look at lawyers and journalists in court. They were so socially distant. In that video that I saw, I want those who are listening to us to learn basics. Wash your hands. Even if there's no corona, wash your hands. Right? Hygiene is not about corona. There are a lot of people who have used corona to promote their agenda. Environmental activists, they said that the world has become healthier now because human beings are not on the road. They said the quality of air has become better because human beings are not on the road. You know, so human beings are the problems of the earth. But I have come to know with just native language, native intelligence, that there's nothing in this life that will ever make meaning if human beings don't touch it.
Sure.
So, what are you listening to us out there? What does corona mean to you? If it means much more than a disease, look at it in America. The reason Americans' number is surging, the reason there is a spike, unfortunately for Americans, corona is coming in an election year. Right? The Republicans want the country opened, right? So that the economy can pick up. Democrats want it shut down so that the economy can collapse and blame Trump. So Republicans don't care if they open it and people die. Democrats don't care if they close it and people die. The whole essence is let's win election. I asked a group of health workers, do you want to tell me there is no corona in Jos, the plateau? They said no. There is. It's just when you want to say, you say there are no known cases. Now that's more dangerous than known cases.
Because you don't even know who is infected.
You don't even know who is infected.
Yeah.
That's the point. So it's a real, what we want to do, on this program is to be able to educate people. Read between the lines, as they say. Read between the lines. Obey government instruction. Because if it's truly a viral infection, virus don't travel, people carry it. If we are locked down, we can easily, but the lockdown can also serve a lot of interests. Sure. Like when we were locked down here without any case, they said they want to fumigate or disinfect the city. If you don't disinfect the city, how do you, if you don't have that kind of project, how do you get money from the federal government? And some so-called rich Nigerians also, in their wisdom, I put it in, yes, in their wisdom, gave money to government. They gave government money. Billions. They gave government. They gave thieves money. You give dried fish to a cat to keep. That's how wise they are. I rest my case.
This is becoming literally hot. We're going to go on a break and we'll be back for more. Stay with us. Send in your comments and questions to the number 081-4456-9000. 081-4456-9000. You can also visit our website at answerswithdrreju.org. Before we went on a break, Joanne had a question to ask. So,
okay, sir. So you were saying something about passing of information and how people,
and the receiving of it.
Yes, and how people receive it and understand. Now, people living in the urban setting, might be more advantaged because they would have the opportunity to maybe lay their hands on materials that can inform them better about this whole thing. So how can we reach those who are not as opportune as people living? Most of the information they pass out is not even in languages that some of these people know. It's in English, and then there's social media. We can read through materials on the internet, but some of these people don't have that opportunity.
I think they are better, positioned than those in the urban centers, because I'm well aware that they've put out these orientation messages in all the languages. I've had it in Igbo, I've had it in Hausa, I've had it in Yoruba. Even when they do the presidential, task force briefing, there are some, especially Radio Nigeria, Radio Nigeria Hausa service. They ask those questions, and then, because this time, the less you know, honestly, the better for you. Because the people you are talking about are not victims of this information glut. They just know that this time, wash your hands. But you see, that's not their problem. The problem, right, is the lockdown. The problem is the lockdown. When you say you open up and people should go and stock, is it not money you used to stock? So we still don't have as much as possible. This is not the time to keep talking about our problems are always there. Because we're not ready for any kind of eventuality, any kind of emergency. We are not just ready for it. Because it's impossible for a poor guy, I think 2 weeks ago I was on another program, in another station, and I drove through, Bauchi Road, and I saw those guys pushing these jerrycans of water, and you want to lock this guy down? Because we just take solutions from other places and copy and paste. Social distancing is not possible in Africa. It's impossible. It will never work. You see, until we learn, and on this program we always like to talk to the future, talk to emerging leaders. When we want to solve problems, we must always adopt a position. What is a homegrown solution? How do we prevent the spread of virus in Genta? Right? How do we prevent the spread of virus in Dogon Karfe, in those kind of places that are densely populated? How do we prevent it in Kibera, in Nairobi City? Because that's just exactly like Makoko in Lagos. Because this is, you have a whole family in Ajegunle, about 10 of them in a little room, and you said they should be locked down and not come out? And it's not only Africa. Go to anywhere in the world, there are places where social distance is impossible. It's impossible. It is. So, but we just, because in the West, Joan was talking about the urban. In the urban areas, they are already socially distant. Right? Where I live, I don't know my neighbors that much. We're already socially distant. But what's the percentage of those who live in those kind of places where I live? Can they be socially distant in a place like Genta? It's impossible. So but there is a way, even within that problematic kind of situation, there is still a way. If we are given to study, if we are given to need assessment, if we are given to profiling solutions that can work within the context, right? Because there's a way to prevent it there. Don't ask me how, because we have not, researched it. Yeah, if you just teach those people, this thing kills. This and this and this and this and this is what we can do. If anybody is sick, let the person talk. But, there was a time I took a staff of mine to a course in the U.S. And they took us to a place in the U.S. where they said this is the place called Fresno, in California. And Fresno has a reputation of the place in the whole of the US where they have the highest level of concentrated poverty. Right? It's the first place in the US where I see houses having burglary proof. Yeah, burglary proof. And they said so. And this guy was complaining about how bad things are. And he said, and then something happened. There was a shooting, and we called the police. So I looked at my staff that we went together. They called the police. This guy think they have a problem.
Right.
You can call the police. You can call. I don't even know the phone number of my of police where I come from. So, you see, but in that kind of place, you cannot. What I learned from that kind of course is that you can't solve the problems of the people without the people's input.
Yeah.
But in Nigeria, we are kind of cut off
From the people.
from those who are kind of trying to solve the problem don't even know the people, talk less of their problem. That's the reason why aid has not helped. Because you give money to somebody. A lot of people have sent me messages that I should give to them. I don't give money. The person that spoke with wisdom in the middle of all this is a guy called Atedo Peterside. He's the founder of IBTC that became Stanbic IBTC Bank. He said he heard about Corona. He was in the UK and he ran back home. Called all the family. The world is going to be locked down for a while. Where do you want to be? So all of them had the opportunity of taking a decision. Came back home and everybody was telling him to contribute money. All your friends have contributed money. Say, what do you need the money for? They said they want to set isolation centers. And they said something very wise. Very, very wise. They said King's College is there. The school has been locked down. Convert that to isolation center. That's a ready-made isolation center. Queen's College is there. It can take hundreds. Right? There is no state in Nigeria where you don't have a federal government college.
NYSC camps.
NYSC camps. That's somebody that's thinking. It's not money. It's not money.
Sure.
Now, most of the isolation centers set up are temporary.
Sure.
Because if we learn from Ebola, this will have been piece of cake.
Sure.
So the people in the villages that you are talking about, Joanne, they are safer. They are safer. And until long term, I'm talking to young people, long term, until we have medication, right, that is locally sourced, locally based, and then we apply science to it to validate it. And let me also say that not all scientific research is valid.
True.
Because when this index case came, Lois, the guy from Italy, the commissioner for health, the professor in Lagos, said the guy is recovering and we have been using HIV drugs for him. That was the first and the last time he made mention of that. Because that will have been everyone that's coming up with the disease, we can use HIV, virus, medication for that person, and the person will recover. Some people want this corona to continue for interest that's not known to some of us who are not that educated. That's the point. Donald Trump came with chloroquine. They shut it down. There are a lot of people that have, anyone who comes up with a solution that can work now, the person is silenced. Is silenced. I have listened to doctors who are working on the front line, right? And they send messages back home to colleagues, and they said, this is what we are using. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to say it. So that because people will hear this too, it's not just here. Even in the UK, people have had chloroquine poison. Because people have gone to use chloroquine with, there was a group of doctors that I was asking that said, can fear affect immunity? And they said yes. That's why doctors talk to you before you go for surgery. They calm you down. Because a lot of people, I was talking to my neighbor, because we've not been able to see, so I called him and he said, since I've been watching the news, every time they list the symptoms of corona, I begin to feel it in my body. That's how terrible information can be. You guys who have felt it.
Yes.
You begin to feel very, very corona. Could it be? Exactly. So those things are there. So if people really want to help, whatever we push out there, those numbers are scary. It pops up on my phone, 800 people died in one day. And I'm alarmed. And I asked these doctors, and I'm asking you guys here too, if there is a way we can get the number of people that die per day before corona, right? It's more than what we're seeing. It's information.
Yeah.
True.
It's information.
True.
So it's how we manage information. And you can't stop those who talk, those who push out the information. You can only control how you are going to receive it and process it. Please don't read too much about COVID for your own sanity.
Okay. Our main contention here now, especially in Nigeria, is in this lockdown and the whole COVID-19 is the issue of hunger. There are a lot of people that don't have food to eat. We have a lot of poor people who are hungry. So do you think that, with the extent of the lockdown and the extended lockdown, that people who don't have enough may just revolt?
That's not impossible. That's a very likely thing, because like the saying goes, a hungry man is an angry man. My daughter lives in Lagos. I have a lot of friends in Lagos. They'll be receiving letters. There's a whole group of people, maybe some area boys in Lagos called the 1 million boys. They'll be sending letters to homes that they are coming to rob. And this friend of mine was saying, honestly, most of these homes, there's no food, though. There's nothing to rob. Even if you carry a TV, nobody will buy. That kind of a thing. So, but looking at that problem that you just mentioned specifically, again, my first point here, when we don't have a structure that is put in place, when we don't have institutions built, so that we can have a system where when problems come up, the problem itself, we activate the solution. It's a problem. That is the real problem. That's the real problem. Even if the government now is so sincere, right, that they want to help the poor, they can't. How? You don't even know who they are. Apart from the fact that you don't know who they are, you don't even know where they are. You see, we've tried to give scholarships before in our only two kind of, organization. The best way to go about it is to go to community leaders who we believe knows the people. But the experience is always this. People have their own preferences. And you can't blame such people, right? You can't blame them because, the way you see Lois and the way you see Joanna and Joseph, they might have, all of you have issues, right? But I will now look at it and in my own subjective way, I will determine who needs something, urgently the most, which might not be objective, right? Which might not be a reflection of the real situation. But you see, if it is systemic, if we have a system where, for instance, we know there are 3 of you on this program with me, and we are sure there are 3, right? We know your peculiar situation. Look at it. I have a friend in the UK who is a sickler, right? He's a sickler. He got a letter from the government educating him, telling him what to do. That is, that government has a register, a database of all sicklers. They have a database of everybody that is down with diabetes. They have a database per age, per everything is documented. But let me also tell you, that database might not be comprehensively accurate, but to a large extent it is. Because that database won't capture illegal citizens. I mean, illegal. Yeah. When a particular housing estate caught fire in London, they can only give a number of those who are documented citizens. Illegal residents won't be captured. But what's their percentage? It might be huge, but they've done something. Right? But here there is nothing. When you see a country, you see, again, this whole COVID thing tells us where our government officials think we are. When you see a country where a government will put cash on the table, like, loaves of bread, and dole it out to people. In the same breath, we are talking about social distancing. You are taking cash, raw cash, handing it out. That's a major COVID being spread. Right? Cash. They are distributing money in the US. Do you know we can do it?
Yeah.
With BVN.
Yeah.
Easy. But they know. That's why I've said it on this program many times. Our government officials are not inept. They are wicked. It's not that they don't know what to do. They don't want to do it. In this country, secretary to the government said he never knew our health facilities are that bad. And he's still in the office. I don't blame him. Chief of staff to the president died. Nobody knew where he died. The autopsy is public property.
Yeah.
Public property. Nobody knew where he died. They said that social distancing, lockdown, they televised the funeral, the burial. It was televised. For what? Before then, the Minister of Information said nobody can claim the corpse. That's not even scientifically, based. It's not Ebola. I don't think the corpse of a COVID person can infect. I don't know. That information, I'm not sure. But the Lai Mohammed said you can't claim the corpse. How come they claim the corpse of Abba Kyari and the government is still there? Right? These are the issues, right? So when you said it might lead to a revolt, I said it's a possibility, but it's not likely. Nigerians don't know how to revolt. People will die in this hunger. They will find a way. I've seen, we run a school, an elementary school. I've seen parents telling us to go illegal. That we should ask our kids to dress in mufti and go to school and write exam. He said some schools did it. I said, is that a parent of kids that I'm raising? You see, I've been positioned in a place to appreciate the problem. And that's what I try to do in my own little way on this program. Nigerians don't know how big our problems are. They don't know. That parent that said that, right, will pay a lecturer. So don't just blame the professor that is asking for sex for grade. Also blame the parent, right, who will offer money for admission and grade. So it's systemic until we change that system. Let me tell you guys, COVID will go. We are surprised because very few people saw the Spanish flu. If my father was alive, he won't be able to even tell us about Spanish flu because when Spanish flu came out, he would have been 3 years old. Spanish flu was 1918, he was born 1915. So a lot of people don't know how this is not something that has never happened before. It will go. Like you said, it's what happens after. Somebody say we change the world forever. It's not true. We will go back to normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so talking about the Spanish flu, then there was a little bit control of information, unlike today that someone can just sit behind his computer and just release an
Yeah.
information, forge
Yeah.
signatures, and
Yeah.
just publish it as maybe from a reliable source. Now, this presently businesses are locked down, and it is not a new news that businesses are affected. After this, um, there are some report. I saw one from IMF that Nigeria will go into a depression, which is likely because of the economic situation. Most people, especially in Jos that I know, are mostly artisans and farmers, and they live on day-to-day basis. So now, after this whole thing, or during this period and after it, how should schools, businesses handle this issue now? Because schools are locked down. Some people are saying they should Zoom, and there are other schools that we know that there are places like we've been mentioning, Genta. Not a lot of people there can't afford to do that. Even if they want to do it, would they have data and bad
Yeah.
networks and
Yeah.
all? So how should people
I,
handle it
I,
now?
I really appreciate your very good question. But let me tell you something as a basis for my answer. When IMF comes out with their reports, right, please don't trust it. Right? Why? And I'm not trying to promote like a conspiracy theory. I'm just trying to put facts and figures to it. Over close to 80% of our economic activities in Nigeria are outside the formal system. IMF can't track it. They can't track it. Right? IMF cannot track our, they don't have the statistics. Right?
Yes, sir.
Our economic activities in Nigeria, they are mainly out of the formal system. IMF will only give you information based on maybe statistics from things that are formalized. The informal system is not tracked. It's tragic that a lot of people will suffer a setback because of this. But let me also tell you, that's not to give you hope, it's to let you know that problem shared is problem half solved. That I got a news item from Sky that there are a lot of students in the UK that's going to suffer a setback because they don't have access to computer and reliable internet. United Kingdom. So there are Gentas and Guarugos everywhere in the world.
True.
Right? But the difference is this. UK might respond to that, but are we going to respond? Yeah? Are we going to respond? What I hope will happen is that we will rejig our educational system. We had a lot of challenges with parents in our school when we said we wanted to go online. There are still a lot of parents who don't have phones with WhatsApp. Now you say that's unpardonable, but that's the reality. That's the reality. So in our bid not to do copy and paste kind of solution, we have to think, how do we get the exams because third term in our school we start on Monday. Right? We now have this, we bring it home to us. Why do we send kids to school? Is it to pass exams or to get educated? Right?
Sure.
Yeah. We now have to put a correct value on education. Put a correct value on examination. Is examination the most accurate way to... Because we don't go to school to understand, we go to school to pass exams. So for those who are going to be adventurous and and innovative, they will benefit from this. But I tell you, after COVID, everybody will go back to the way they've been. Some will resume. They will rush the students so that they can finish syllabus, so that they can write WAEC. But I'll say it on this program. If I'm allowed to, advise the Nigerian government, Nigerian by now we shouldn't be in WAEC again. We should have had another body, local.
Like NECO.
NECO was supposed to be, but NECO is still like second class to WAEC. Some universities won't take NECO. Because NECO is because is unique to us, and we don't have any kind of a good reputation. We believe NECO is for those who are not that smart. And that's the way it's presented. But you see, it's going to depend on how a local government, for instance, will say, in this local government, this is how I want our education to be. It's going to take like a private school. In this private school, because I'm not going to put my own strategies, in the public space on this program, because that's what makes us unique. I'm not going to put it out there, right? So I'm going to say that it's going to depend on what each school will do. But any school out there that have actually gone ahead to make their students dressed in mufti and come, you're already producing corrupt politicians. Yeah. If you can tell children to disobey the government, right? To dress in mufti and come and write exam. What exam? That's the same school that will pay WAEC so that the students can cheat. Right?
Yeah.
So things will go back to normal for many. But for the few wise ones, they will take advantage of this. I always make an example. The most effective health system in the world is NHS in the UK. NHS in the UK was birthed by the Second World War.
Okay.
Yeah, by the Second World War. It was their response to the health challenges of that war. In South Africa is still enjoying the legacy of hosting, the World Cup in 2010, because it improved their infrastructure tremendously. What did we gain from Ebola? Right? What did we gain from Ebola? So it's going to be normal as long as the boss Mustafas of this world are still in government. As long as the Lai Mohammeds of this world are still in government. Those who believe, you see, the way we run our government is not really different from the way we were doing the monarchical system. You know that if a king dies, you don't just announce. Is that not the way we do it? That's the reason Abakari will die and nobody knows. There's a way you announce the death of a king. It's still the way we are. But does it mean it's bad? No. But have we been able to modernize those kind of systems? You see, I'm saying people can't even wait to get back to normal. They will continue. But there's going to be few. And I believe I'm talking to some few people out there who will say we must benefit from this trouble. So if I go to Jetta, if I'm in government, and I'm worried about the virus spread, just simple primary health care, 30 beds will solve the problem. Yeah, will solve the problem. And orientation, health orientation, not even prescription drugs, health, hygiene orientation will help.
All right, we're going to go on a very short break and we'll be back to Capital. Please stay with us. You're welcome back from the break. Don't forget that you can send your comments and questions to the number 081-4456-9000. You can also visit our website at answerswithdrreju.org. Okay, so we're still talking about the effects of the pandemic, how effective our efforts are, and as well as how the life after the pandemic will be. Okay, sir. So, right now, what can we do to be prepared for any future outbreak like this? Because it looks like we are always taken by surprise, especially in Nigeria, about outbreaks and all.
Now, I will not want us to be too hard on ourselves, right? This COVID has flattened a lot of things that not, the governments that we respect is being shown that, globally there's a leadership deficit, right? The only way to respond to all these kind of things, right, is to always focus on infrastructural development. Put human welfare as number one in all you do. So it's not, you don't put things in place because of, there's a kind of saying that, when we're growing up, say save for the raining day. Don't save for the raining day, just save as as a lifestyle. Because when the rains come, it wipes up all the savings. Just make savings and investment as a lifestyle. Let's pressure our government, right, to make our interest primary. Right? Let's have infrastructure in place. Youth the way it is must not be accepted for a second. I mean, a teaching hospital where you can't use the bathroom. You can't use the bathroom. Right? There's no water there. It must be accepted. It must not be accepted for a day, for a second. That's the only way. We can't be preparing for COVID. It doesn't announce. But you see, when you have a problem, when the problems come, it should be that the problems come because you can handle it. It's as simple as that. That's the way to prepare for the future. It's what we do now, not what we do when the thing comes.
Okay, so I want to ask a question in regards to religion.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people were spiritualizing the whole situation. And they were putting fear that for the Christians, they were saying this is the end times. The Muslims too went out to do their prayers even after the government said we shouldn't. During Easter, so many Christians came up to say the government is fighting against them going out to celebrate their celebration. And now Ramadan is coming and people are still talking and all that. So please, sir, what do you have to say about this situation?
It's all nonsense. Arrant nonsense. Those who talk about end time, they don't even know the beginning of time. It's just nonsense.
Let alone the end.
You don't even know beginning, talk less of end. It's nonsense. I've had people say the thing, if you believe in Christ, it won't affect you. I've seen Christians die. I've seen pastors die.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with religion, right? People didn't go to their places of worship during this Easter. Maybe some of them have stopped being Christians now, right? It's just nonsense. This is not a time to even listen to anybody who calls himself a pastor or somebody. Yeah, most of them are just a bunch of idiots. I'm so sorry to say this because they have been part of those, they have been the chief of this information virus. I had to call on the page of Answer Dr.Reju for people like Oyagilome to be arrested because that was serious. That was just an affront on constitutional authority. The government of Lagos locked down the city so that the virus won't spread. You said they lock it down so that they can install 5G. The guy should have been arrested, tried and jailed because that is classic fake news. 5G is not even any... If 5G is what's killing, why is everyone still in Wuhan? 5G has not even covered a fraction of UK. 4G came to Jos in October. In October. If you put earpiece in your ears, you have radioactive poisoning. If you can open your phone with your eyes, it has radioactive element. If you can open with your thumbprint, if you put phone in your ears, all these things there is no, Panadol can destroy liver. Does it mean we should stop? I mean, that was just, that was just reckless. The guy should have been arrested. as I called for. And I know a lot of people try to crucify me, and I like it. A lot of pastors are talking nonsense, and that's why all of them, because they locked up their buildings, they went on air, to go and be doing all this live streaming and all kind of things, because they can't stop it. They don't even know what this thing is all about. Has no respect for Islam or no respect for Christianity. It has nothing to do with anyone that spiritualizes is just an idiot.
Wow. This is heavy.
I don't know how heavy that is, but it's just an idiot.
All right, people, we've come to the end of the program for today. You can visit our website at Answers with Dr. Reju to stream on all our previous episodes. We'll see you next week for another exciting episode. Thank you for listening.